Hey, welcome back to Metaverse Entangled, where we weave the threads of science, dreams, and discovery. I am Pambish, and today we have an extraordinary experience in store for you. Let's get started. Joining us is a trailblazer who made his journey from the halls of IISER to Princeton University. Yes, you heard me right. Our guest today is a brilliant grad student working in the amazing field of superconducting qubits at the Princeton University.
But that's not it. We'll be digging deep. We'll also be talking about life at an Ivy, getting in, and much more. So if you're someone who is interested in quantum tech, planning your grad school journey, this episode is for you. So join us, settle in, and let's entangle ourselves with some quantum inspiration. Let's get started.
Hello, Bhaiya. Welcome to the podcast. My pleasure having you here.
Hi, yeah, good to be here.
So we'll be moving on to our questions. The first question would be, tell us something about yourself, Bhaiya, and tell us something unique about yourself which we don't find in your social media profiles.
Yeah, so I think before social media profile, let me tell you about myself. Hi, I'm Shashwat. I am a PhD student in electrical and computer engineering at Princeton University, and I study quantum information and quantum computing with superconducting qubits. And I've been here in the US, I think, for almost 4 years now, and I'm a fourth year PhD student. And currently, I am working at Google as a student researcher at Google's quantum research team. I think it's called Google Quantum AI. And I'm here for a year as a student researcher, and I'm working on their processor to understand what we can do with it. So there's something called NISC experiments, and I'm working on the near-term application of what we have what we have in quantum computing and what we can do with it. And one thing I think that you asked, like what you cannot find on my social media profile is, right now, like I'm studying quantum computing and I'm more of a physicist than an engineer. But when I started after my high school, I jumped quite a few colleges. First, I was doing some physics degree, then I wanted to do a computer science degree, and then I went back to do another physics degree. Or yeah, so I kind of jumped these three or four colleges, and that took a year away from my academic journey. But I think it was a good
This is
learning experience.
this is something really new. I didn't expect this.
Yeah, I did not post about it anywhere, so you won't find it. But I think before I started doing my physics degree at IISER Mohali, I jumped like quite a few colleges.
Bhaiya.
Yeah.
Nice. And moving on, could you take a couple of minutes in explaining about your research in quantum computing with superconducting qubits?
Yeah, so as I said, I can talk about two things here. First, my research back at home, that is Princeton University, where I worked with Professor Andrew Haug, and the lab focuses on superconducting qubits. And I'm not sure if you have heard of, but there are qubits, and very famous qubit is transmon qubit that is used by many people and industry as well. IBM, Google, and Rigetti, and IQM, I think, to name a few, and they use transmons. I think IQM also uses transmon, but transmon is widely used in industry, and superconducting qubits in general, other type of qubits are used in other companies also, like Amazon Web Services, Center for Quantum Computing. They also use superconducting qubits. So that's the background of superconducting qubits. Like what's the relevance of it? And my research, when I started my PhD, I was working on a novel qubit, a qubit that is, the research was focused on trying to find new type of qubits that are not like studied before in depth. In order to, the idea was to understand if we can come up with qubits that are less susceptible to noise intrinsically. And so then I worked on something called a fluxonium molecule. It has its own challenges, but it was a fun study. And then I kept working on, I think there was some machine learning thing we tried with with a collaboration back at Princeton where we try to find new type of qubits with machine learning, again in superconducting qubits, but with machine learning. And then I think
And
lately
how successful were
for
those approaches?
that approach was kind of successful. I think how success is defined is it's very subjective, but we did find some interesting qubits, some weird looking qubits, and a few of them had nice properties. And one thing we also found in that study is that one of the well-studied qubits called fluxonium is is also good according to our machine learning optimization. Yeah. And then lately, I've been working on two qubit gates between transmon. I think it's been like for almost 2 years at this point where I got involved in the project and that completely just doing that. And it was about better coupling scheme or how we can couple these transmon qubits in a better way to increase gate fidelity, or think about gates in a different way, that the way we think about standard gates can we think about in a way that is not standard and still use them for application. And then I think I can't tell you exactly what I'm doing, but the idea is to demonstrate what can be done with the current quantum processors we have, and we are working in that direction. And there are many great papers that are showing quantum simulation of condensed matter system, of electronic systems on Google's quantum processors, and the research is in that direction.
Amazing, Bhaiya. So moving on, what do you think are some significant real-world problems that superconducting quantum computers could address in the next decade?
See, again, we are in something called a NISQ era, and we hope there are so many things that quantum computing in general, not just superconducting qubits, quantum computing in general can tackle. For example, as I said, molecular simulation or simulation for chemistry is one of the promising avenues where quantum computing can help. And some people are also thinking about doing machine learning with quantum computing, using a larger Hilbert space to speed up machine learning in a certain way. I'm not an expert, so I don't know much about that. And of course, like cryptography is one of the well-known applications that people talk about very often. So a few things to name are these, I would say, that any quantum computing platform will help.
So I guess we have touched at least 1% of your research. So moving on to the part 2 of the podcast, which is the main agenda of the podcast, which is your life at Princeton. And we'll be moving on to that. The first question would be, can you take time in talking about your life at IISER and how the environment shaped you or influenced you in doing what you are doing today?
Yeah, so my time at IISER was quite interesting and exciting in different ways. IISER Mohali is a unique institute where it's not like, I think not just IISER Mohali, in general, IISER are very unique. They are different from regular engineering colleges or regular universities in India, where I think you're from IISER, right?
Yes, IISER Berhampur.
Yeah, so great. So we went into the college. It was our first year, and we did not know if you are doing chemistry, physics, or biology or what. It was all of us studied together for the first 2 years, and that's not very common in India. Like you take admission in a program instead of like you take admission into a subject in a course instead of like a general program that is more like that's more fluid with what you want to choose, and you can choose that after 2 years.
Perspective on this 2-year duration, like do you think that 2 years for learning all the subjects is long, or do you feel that it prepares you for something really good in the future? What do you think?
I think it is 2 years. Maybe it might be long for a few people, but I think giving people exposure to every subject for some time is not bad. Like 1 year to 2 years is, I think, fine. maybe like somewhere you can also probably bring it to 6 months to minimum 6 months and up to 2 years. I think it's fine. But some people complain, oh, we studied biology for 2 years for no reason, or we studied physics for 2 years for no reason. Now we are just doing biology. But it has its own benefits. I think when you grow up, by growing up, like when you finish your course and you have studied concepts that are not your field of study directly, but you also know something about that helps sometimes. Yeah.
And how has your experience been at Princeton so far? And what are some aspects you truly enjoy? And are there any areas where you feel you miss IISERs?
So Princeton is again a great university, an excellent opportunity for me to understand new kind of research that I was not exposed to before. I got admission at Princeton in electrical and computer engineering department, and for the first 6 months, it was kind of rotation like system, but not exactly rotation. I could talk to different professors and see whose research I like the most and what I would like to do for the rest of my PhD. So in that sense, Princeton was pretty neat. And when I decided that I want to do superconducting qubits, Princeton was very smooth in that sense that I did not have to worry about like what's going to happen with me, say 2 years into it or 4 years into the program. So I think many good things about Princeton, like great faculty, great learning experience. All the courses I took were awesome. And I think one thing that I like about studying at Princeton was those weekly assignments that we had to do, and I think that was kind of missing in our education back home in India, because not every course, not every professor focuses on weekly learning. I think this is changing now, and I hope it changes for good, and people engage in learning more actively than just focusing on a single exam that happens in a few months. And how I'm missing IISER, I think IISER had so many friends. I had so many friends at IISER, and I was in Mohali, and Mohali is a great place. It's in the suburbs of Chandigarh, so there are so many things to do. A lot of street food. You go to museums, parks, that you could also do here in New York
One
City.
street food which you
But
love, which you miss eating
this,
from Mohali.
I love aloo tikki, so that was really good at Mohali. Yeah.
And Baya, can you talk about the application procedure to Princeton and the external exams you had to take? And how different are they for application to the UK institutes?
So for Princeton, I think everywhere in the US, your application procedure is very similar. That you have to write a statement of purpose, you have to have around three letters of recommendation, and then you also submit your CV along with it. And sometimes there's one extra letter where they ask specific questions about your background, or if there's something special about your story to tell, and all those things. So for me, I had to write again a letter, I think 2 letters, one statement of purpose and another letter, and then had to provide 3 letters of recommendation and submit my resume or CV. And for the exams I had to take, I took TOEFL, and I also took GRE, but GRE was not required that year. And so these are the only things I had to do for application to Princeton. So I think TOEFL is still the exam that most of the people have to take, or I might be wrong. Maybe they changed it, but GRE I think is still optional, and you should double check before applying, like what all exams are required, and that's true for most of the US universities. And for application to UK, I never applied to UK, so I might not be the right person to answer that, but I think it should be similar in a way that you still have to write a statement of purpose, and your letter of recommendations are also required, and you have to take an English exam. But I think one biggest difference is I heard some of my friends who did their PhD or who are still doing their PhD in UK is that they sometime might have to apply for funding externally. University does not always fund, apparently. But at Princeton, I did not have to apply for an external funding. Maybe you could apply, but funding was guaranteed by the university and the research advisor.
And what do Ivy League admission committees look for in applicants? What are the key what are the key factors which makes you a standout?
So I think it's more than Ivy League. It's about any school in general. So university, of course, wants graduate student, but they will ultimately work with professors, and those I would say more of like professors look for relevant research background, and I think they want to see that what you want, they have it with them to give you. For example, if you are a good fit for doing a PhD, given like how you were in your undergrad, what were your interests, and if you had some research exposure or some research experience, then that can tell them, yes, this person can do a PhD or is interested in doing a PhD and can be a good fit for this program. And ultimately, then the professors look at your overall application and check if the university or the program and the student will be a good match. So it's more than standing out. It's a holistic process where they look at. I think everyone looks at your overall profile, and they also see if they have the requirement of such a background at their place at the university. So I won't say just about Ivy League. It's about everywhere. You have to have relevant background.
And the next question is it's kind of a continuation of this question. What do you think is the key aspect that made you get into Princeton? Like, what do you think
Key aspect that made me get into Princeton.
in your profile?
I was before applying to Princeton. I was always interested in research and especially in quantum computing and quantum sensing. So that interest, because of that interest, I went to do a summer internship through DAAD at TU Dortmund in Germany, and then in the next subsequent year for my master's thesis, I was in Switzerland at DPFL, and at both places I was researching quantum computing / quantum sensing, and it was experimental quantum computing / quantum sensing. And when I applied to Princeton, I said yes, I want to work in the same field. I want to work in experimental quantum computing mostly, and quantum sensing. So since my background, what I did was, I think, a good fit and my interests were good fit for what they had to offer. I think that must be something that got me into Princeton. But you can never tell, I guess. Sometimes it's also luck, and I think I got lucky.
And what do you think? What sets the research environment at Princeton apart from other universities?
Other universities in the US or in India?
In the world, preferably.
So Princeton is very good at collaborations among professors. So I think Princeton has excellent faculty, and I think every other university also, they have excellent faculty. But I don't know about how much collaboration happens elsewhere, but I can talk for Princeton. At Princeton, people who do material science, people who do research with microwave components, people who do quantum computing, all come together, and it has been demonstrated in past through publications and collaborations that they can come together and work towards a bigger common goal, and that gives very good results. So I think one thing at Princeton that I really like is this collaboration. For example, I collaborated with someone who was doing machine learning, and I did not have an expertise, but I could learn from them. and collaborate with them, and we could work towards this common goal where we were both the groups were interested in exploring how we can use machine learning to in quantum computing, or finding new qubits. So I think that is something special about Princeton for sure, and I'm sure there are other universities like this as well, but Princeton is very good at that.
Right there. And how competitive is the academic culture at Ivy League schools?
Competitive. I think you go there and you try to see where you can contribute, and then you do your best. So if everyone tries to do their best, and then there's no as such competition between two individuals. I think it's more about how good you can do at improving the thing you are currently working at, or what your goal is. So I think in my time at Princeton, I did not see many people competing, like many graduate students competing among themselves, but the competition was more in a way that, yes, we want to do the thing we are doing the best.
Right there. And what are some unique traditions or experiences or practices at Princeton?
We have every year we have something called reunions, where people who graduated, it's mostly for undergrads, people from different batches, from different years or class years come back, and they have fun for a couple of days, and then finally on one day there is a parade that Princeton calls P-Raid. And that is fun. You get to see so many people having fun on Princeton campus. That's very unique about Princeton, I guess.
And we have also seen a lot of social media memes about Princeton, that Princeton is one of the schools that is situated in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of, you don't get to have a lot of outside school life and all. What are your comments on that?
So I'm not an undergrad. I did not do my undergrad there, so that my experience will be different for sure, because I am a graduate student, and I'm there to do research. And for research, I think it's a very peaceful place. I love
Amazing.
living in the Princeton area. It's very quiet, very safe, very beautiful. The campus is beautiful. The nature around Princeton is beautiful. I go for runs and hikes around. It's lovely. And then, if you want to experience city life, then New York City is 1 hour 15 minutes or 1 hour 30 minutes away, with a train that you can take from Princeton. And I think that's perfect if you want to have fun on a weekend. Go to New York City. If you want to have more calm and focused life, it's back at Princeton.
Then I guess the memes were actually true. Then, you saying the fact that the atmosphere is very quiet. So I guess the memes were true. From an
Yeah,
undergraduate's perspective, it hurts, I guess. But for a
I
grad
think
student,
I
it
think
really
undergrads
helps you.
also have a lot of fun, I guess.
Right there. And what do you think is the biggest misconception people have about Ivy League PhD programs, or preferably getting into an Ivy and studying at an Ivy?
Misconceptions. So I do not. I think one thing I would say is, people think that, especially in India, I think, at IISER, because we think a lot about going abroad and doing our PhDs. Like when we are at IISER, we always think or plan about it. So one thing in general that is true is, the research matters more than the school name or the Ivy League. There are great researchers who are not at Ivy League and are doing great research. And working with those researchers is no less prestigious than, or no less fulfilling, or rewarding than working anywhere else where similar research is happening. So more than Ivy League tag, I think it's what's important is what kind of research you are doing and which field you are in. And of course, like Ivy League is great. They have Ivy League have pretty good researchers in general, but there are good researchers elsewhere also. So that's one thing.
Getting it. Right. And this is one regular question which we ask to all our guests. If you could go back in time and fix one thing in your past, what would it be and why?
I think I would take more theoretical physics courses. I did not take QFT 2 after I did not do very well in QFT 1. So maybe I'll take QFT 2 and learn more about how field theory works. That's all. I don't regret. In general, I do not regret what happened before. I do not really want to change things that happened before. So yeah, then
So
they're
you
not
just want,
much.
if you could only go back and fix one thing, it would be, repairing one of your coursework.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise everything is fine. I think this is also
Amazing.
yeah.
We are nearing to the end of the podcast, and our final question would be, what would be your final advice for all the students?
Try to find what you're interested in and try to stay motivated and curious. I think that comes with what you're interested in. So try to find what you're interested in that will keep you motivated and curious. And then things keep happening. Be patient. You keep working towards what you're interested in. And you might think that there are always milestones, small milestones that we set in our lives. That after we finish our undergrad, we have to have this PhD admission. After we have PhD admission, we have to have certain things. And this will go on forever. Once you have a job, then you would look for promotion. But focus on what you're interested in and be patient with things, and things happen with time.
And I guess we are done. So thank you so much, Bhaiya, for sparing time. It was my pleasure having you on board with us.
Mhm.
And thank you so much for agreeing to.
Yeah, it was a pleasure for me to be here and talking to you about my life and learning. Actually, the way these questions also made me kind of understand more about what I'm doing and what I'm doing, like from a
Pleasure
broader
is mine,
perspective.
Bhaiya. Pleasure is mine. Thank you for agreeing to do this, and have a nice day, Bhaiya.
All right, have a nice day.